Welcome to a story that changed the world. This is not just a business story. This is not just a success story. This is the story of Microsoft, a company that started in a tiny dorm room and became one of the most powerful empires in human history. A story of vision, failure, rejection, obsession, transformation, and ultimate dominance. A story where one young boy decided to dream bigger than anyone else, and then actually built it. And today, we use his dream every time we open a computer, every time we use Word, PowerPoint, Excel, or Windows. But behind all that technology is a story of struggle, fights, betrayals, genius, and reinvention. In today's video, we begin the true story of Microsoft. From a college dropout to the world's richest man, from a tiny software contract to a company worth over $3.8 trillion. This video is also great for your English learning. We use clear, simple English to help you understand every moment, and you will learn English and success together. So grab your notebook, because this isn't just a video. This is a masterclass in how to think, how to lead, and how to win. Part 1. The boy who fell in love with computers. Before Microsoft became a global empire, there was a boy, not rich, not powerful, not famous, just a boy with glasses, a fast brain, and a deep obsession with computers. That boy's name was William Henry Gates III, known to the world as Bill Gates. He was born on October 28, 1955 in Seattle, Washington, USA. His father was a lawyer, very disciplined and strong. His mother was a teacher, warm and smart. From a young age, Bill Gates was different. While other kids were playing outside, Bill was reading encyclopedias. He didn't just read stories. He read the dictionary, the World Book, even legal documents for fun. At the age of 7, he was already thinking like an adult. He loved logic, numbers, and solving problems. At the age of 13, Bill went to a private school called Lakeside. It was expensive. It was elite. And it had one thing no other school had at that time: a computer terminal. This was the 1960s. Back then, most adults had never even seen a computer. But this school had a deal with a company that allowed students to experiment with time on a mainframe computer. And Bill fell in love. He skipped gym class just to sit in front of a screen, typing strange commands, solving problems, breaking things, fixing them. He wasn't alone. There was another boy, Paul Allen. He was 2 years older, more quiet, more focused, but just as obsessed. Together, Bill and Paul started hacking into the computer system, not for money, but to learn, to understand, to go deeper. They were caught and punished by the school. But something amazing happened next. Instead of banning them, the school offered them free computer time in exchange for helping debug and improve the system. And just like that, Bill Gates and Paul Allen got their first real-world programming job. As teenagers. Before Microsoft, they started a small company called Traf-O-Data. It sounds strange, but it was smart. Cities had machines that counted cars on roads. Bill and Paul wrote software to analyze traffic data and help cities improve road planning. They made a small amount of money, not millions, but it gave them experience in writing code for real customers. They were still teenagers. While still in school, Bill Gates read an article about the Altair 8800, the first affordable personal computer. Something clicked. He told Paul Allen, "This is it, the future. We must build software for this." So they picked up the phone, called the company MITS that made Altair, and said they already had software ready. But here's the truth. They hadn't written a single line yet. But they got the meeting anyway. They worked nonstop for weeks to actually build it in time. And when they finally showed it to the company, it worked. MITS bought their software, and that was the beginning. Bill Gates was 19. Paul Allen was 21. They moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where MITS was located. And on April 4th, 1975, they officially founded Microsoft, combining microcomputer and software. Later, they removed the hyphen. Microsoft was born. Bill drops out of Harvard. Yes, Bill Gates was a Harvard student, one of the most prestigious colleges in the world. But after starting Microsoft, he made a decision. I can always go back to school, but this opportunity won't wait. He dropped out. He risked everything, his future, his parents' trust, his education, for one belief: the future of the world will be shaped by software. And he wanted to write that software. Microsoft was now real. Two young boys, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, in a small office in Albuquerque, writing software for the new age of personal computers. They had no office furniture. They ate fast food. They coded 18 to 20 hours a day. Their business wasn't about glamour or design. It was about logic, function, and efficiency. But something else was happening in another part of America. While Microsoft was focused on software, in Silicon Valley, a young man named Steve Jobs had a different dream. Let's build the most beautiful personal computer ever made. He teamed up with another brilliant mind, Steve Wozniak. And in 1976, just 1 year after Microsoft was born, Apple Computer was founded in a garage. While Bill Gates was building software, Steve Jobs was building hardware. In 1979, Steve Jobs invited Bill Gates to come visit Apple's headquarters. Jobs showed Gates something shocking: a secret project called the Apple Lisa, a new computer with a graphical interface. Instead of typing commands, you could now click icons with a mouse. This was revolutionary. Until now, computers looked like black screens with green text. But the Lisa had windows, icons, menus, and clickable folders. Bill Gates was stunned. This was the future. Apple, believing they had the lead, hired Microsoft to build software for the Macintosh, their next big computer. Microsoft made Word, Excel, and other programs for the Mac. But secretly, Bill Gates had a plan. He was working on his own operating system, something that would compete directly with Apple's software, but run on any PC, not just Apple's expensive computers. This system would be called Windows. When Steve Jobs discovered that Microsoft was working on Windows, he was furious. He called Bill Gates and accused him of stealing Apple's ideas. But Bill Gates replied with calm logic. Well, Steve, I think it's more like, we both had this rich neighbor named Xerox, and I broke into his house to steal the TV. But you already stole it. What Gates meant was this: both Apple and Microsoft had borrowed ideas from Xerox, a company that first invented the graphical interface, but failed to see its potential. Jobs took it. Gates took it too. But Gates was more strategic. Instead of building expensive hardware like Apple, Microsoft would build Windows software and sell it to every computer manufacturer in the world. That one move would change everything. In 1985, Microsoft officially launched Windows 1.0. It wasn't perfect. It was slow. It was buggy. But it had something Apple didn't: Open access. Any computer maker, IBM, Dell, Compaq, HP, could install Windows on their machines. And just like that, Microsoft became the default software for millions of new PCs. Windows kept improving. Windows 2.0 came in 1987. Windows 3.0 in 1990. Windows 95. A massive breakthrough came in 1995. That release changed the world. Microsoft launched Windows 95 like it was a rock concert. They paid $3 million to use the Rolling Stones song "Start Me Up" in the commercial. People lined up at midnight to buy it. It sold 7 million copies in 5 weeks. By 1998, over 90% of computers in the world were running Microsoft Windows. Apple couldn't compete with that scale. Microsoft became not just a company, it became a standard. As Windows took over the world, Microsoft became a money machine. Here's how fast it happened. In 1986, Microsoft went public. Opening share price, $21. Within a year, it jumped to $100 plus. Bill Gates became a billionaire at age 31, the youngest billionaire in history at that time. By the late 1990s, his net worth crossed $100 billion. Microsoft became the richest tech company in the world, valued at hundreds of billions of dollars. And remember, this wasn't just one product. Microsoft now had Windows, the Core OS, MS-DOS, earlier systems still used in parts, Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Internet Explorer, its own browser, Outlook and Exchange, email and business tools. Bill Gates was not soft. He was known for his aggressive management style. He would grill his employees during meetings. He had a sharp tongue and quick mind. He worked 16-hour days and expected others to do the same. But he also had incredible focus. He believed in software before design, function before fashion, long-term dominance over short-term hype. He wasn't building something beautiful. He was building something essential, and the world started depending on it. By 1999, Microsoft was worth over $600 billion, running on over 90% of the world's computers, holding a monopoly in the software market. Part 2. The Fall of a Giant, Lawsuits, Mistakes, and the Fight for Survival. By the late 1990s, Microsoft was everywhere. It was no longer just a software company. It was a tech empire. Windows was on over 90% of all computers. Microsoft Office was used in homes, schools, and companies. Bill Gates was the richest man in the world. The company had over $40 billion in revenue per year. Its market cap had crossed $600 billion, more than most countries' GDP. But when you become that big, something else also becomes big. The target on your back. Competitors were angry. Smaller companies felt crushed, and governments began asking a question: is Microsoft too powerful for the world's good? In 1998, the United States government officially filed a lawsuit against Microsoft. The accusation was serious. Microsoft is using its power to crush competition. The government said Microsoft was forcing computer makers to use Windows only, killing off smaller competitors, giving away Internet Explorer for free to destroy other browsers like Netscape, controlling the software world like a monopoly. This wasn't just a small case. This was the largest antitrust case since the US broke up AT&T in the 1980s. The case began. And suddenly, Bill Gates, once seen as a genius and innovator, was painted as a greedy, ruthless monopolist. One of the biggest mistakes Microsoft made was an interview. During the trial, Bill Gates gave a video deposition, a recorded testimony. But instead of helping, it became a disaster. He appeared angry, sarcastic, defensive. He gave short answers. He refused to accept obvious things. He looked arrogant. The public reaction was strong. Is this how the richest man in the world behaves when questioned? The government used this footage to show the world that Microsoft had no humility, no responsibility, and no respect for fair competition. After months of trial, the judge gave a shocking judgment. Microsoft should be broken into two separate companies, one for Windows, one for everything else. This was a bombshell. If that happened, Microsoft as we know it would disappear. Investors panicked. Tech stocks dropped. Bill Gates went from hero to villain in just a few years. But Microsoft didn't give up. They appealed the decision. They hired new lawyers. They made changes. They promised to open up their software for third-party developers. And in the year 2001, after years of fighting, the final decision came. Microsoft will not be broken up, but it must follow strict rules to avoid abusing its power. They survived, but the damage was done. The world no longer saw Microsoft as a young startup. Now it was the giant that everyone feared. In January 2000, Bill Gates stepped down as CEO. He chose a new leader, his longtime friend and business partner, Steve Ballmer. Ballmer was loud, energetic, passionate, but not a technical genius like Gates. He had a business mind. He focused on enterprise growth, sales, and product expansion. Under Ballmer, Microsoft grew even bigger, but it also started making strange decisions. Let's break them down. The mistakes Microsoft made in the 2000s. The mobile disaster. In 2007, Apple released the iPhone. It was not just a phone. It was a pocket computer. Microsoft had a mobile system called Windows Mobile, but it was clunky and hard to use. They had the technology, they had the money, but they missed the smartphone revolution. Later, Microsoft tried to recover with Windows Phone, but it was too late. Apple and Android had already won. They also bought Nokia for over $7 billion, trying to enter the phone market. But it failed. The Nokia brand collapsed. Microsoft had to write off the investment. A multi-billion-dollar loss. The Bing struggle. Microsoft wanted to challenge Google in search, so they launched Bing. They spent billions of dollars on marketing and tech. But even after years, Bing remained small. Google held over 90% of the market. Bing was mocked. It became the browser you used to download Chrome. Windows Vista and Windows 8, the product flops. Windows XP, 2001, was loved. Then came Windows Vista, 2007, heavy, buggy, slow. Users hated it. It damaged Microsoft's image. Then came Windows 8, 2012, a confusing design with no start menu. The familiar experience was gone. Again, users were angry. Businesses refused to upgrade. People called it a disaster. While Apple was creating magic with iPhones, iPads, and MacBooks. While Google was inventing Gmail, YouTube, Android, and Maps, Microsoft became known for slow software, ugly phones, complicated updates, weak innovation. People said, Microsoft is big, but it's not exciting anymore. The world had changed. Apple had the cool factor. Google had the future. Amazon was building its cloud empire. Facebook was buying the next generation. Startups were rising everywhere. And Microsoft? It was still selling Word and Windows. But the fire was gone. That's when a man quietly stepped into the CEO's chair. He wasn't loud. He didn't wear black turtlenecks. He wasn't a billionaire genius. He was an engineer, a thinker, a man of calm energy. His name was Satya Nadella. Who is Satya Nadella? Born in Hyderabad, India in 1967. Studied electrical engineering in India. Moved to the US for higher studies. Got a master's in computer science. Later earned an MBA while working. Joined Microsoft in 1992. For over 20 years, he worked inside Microsoft, in silence. He led teams, built products, focused on cloud computing. He wasn't chasing the spotlight. He was chasing improvement. And when he became CEO in 2014, few outside the company even knew his name. But what he did next changed everything. Satya Nadella didn't start by launching a product. He didn't start with profits or spreadsheets. He started with people. At that time, Microsoft had become slow, political, divided, full of ego and internal competition. Teams didn't work together. Leaders were afraid to take risks. Satya knew, before changing the product, he had to change the mindset. So he introduced a new philosophy. Don't be a know-it-all. Be a learn-it-all. He pushed the company to listen, learn, collaborate, and adapt. He told engineers, don't protect your product. Fix it. He told leaders, don't talk about yourself. Talk about what problem you're solving. He encouraged humility, empathy, and innovation. This shift, though invisible, was the real beginning of Microsoft's comeback. Satya Nadella had a clear vision. The future of computing is in the cloud. So instead of putting all energy into Windows or Office disks or phone hardware, he focused on something bigger: Azure, Microsoft's cloud platform. At the time, Amazon Web Services, AWS, was the leader in cloud. Microsoft was far behind. But Satya didn't care about competition. He cared about execution. He invested billions of dollars into building data centers around the world. He told businesses, let us run your software, your storage, your computing from our cloud. And slowly, companies listened. Azure grew fast. From a small division, it became a core engine of Microsoft's growth. Today, Azure generates tens of billions of dollars every year and is now neck and neck with AWS in global market share. It became one of the most profitable, scalable, and future-proof businesses in the tech world. Under old Microsoft, anything outside Windows or Office was a threat. Linux, enemy, Android, competition, iOS, ignored, open source, rejected. But Nadella saw things differently. He said, we're not here to fight the past. We're here to serve the future. So he made bold decisions. Microsoft joined the Linux Foundation, released software for Android and iOS, made Office available on Mac, iPad, iPhone, and Android phones, supported open source projects on GitHub. It was shocking, but it worked. Developers who once hated Microsoft began to trust it again. Instead of selling Office on CDs, Microsoft made it a cloud subscription, Office 365. For a small monthly fee, users got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, 1 terabyte of cloud storage, email, Outlook, Teams for video meetings. This model was genius. It gave users constant updates. It gave Microsoft monthly recurring revenue. And it created a sticky ecosystem that people stayed in. While Sony's PlayStation dominated the console market, Xbox had always been second. But under Satya Nadella, Microsoft started thinking long-term. Instead of just selling consoles, they focused on Game Pass, a subscription service for gamers. For $10 to $15 per month, users could play hundreds of games across Xbox, PC, and cloud. This made Microsoft different. They weren't selling boxes. They were selling freedom to play. By 2024, Xbox Game Pass had over 25 million subscribers, and Microsoft's gaming division was generating over $16 billion per year. During the pandemic, remote work became the new normal. Video calls, online meetings, team collaboration. Microsoft launched Teams, an all-in-one workspace for chat, video, files, and meetings. Within just 2 years, Teams grew from 20 million to over 280 million users. It became essential, not just for companies, but for schools, hospitals, and governments. Satya Nadella made bold billion-dollar investments that shocked the tech world. 1. LinkedIn, 2016, for $26.2 billion. Everyone asked, why? But it worked. LinkedIn's user base exploded. Microsoft integrated it into Office, Outlook, and AI tools. Today, it makes over $15 billion per year. 2. GitHub, 2018, for $7.5 billion. A platform for developers. This was a trust play. Microsoft told coders, "We support your work." GitHub kept growing, and so did Microsoft's image among developers. 3. Activision Blizzard, 2023, for $69 billion. The largest gaming acquisition in history. Microsoft now owns Call of Duty, Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, and more. A massive move to dominate gaming across console, cloud, and mobile. Let's look at what happened to Microsoft under Satya Nadella's leadership. Market cap, from $300 billion to over $3.8 trillion. Azure cloud revenue, $70+ billion annually. Office 365 revenue, $50+ billion annually. Gaming, over $16 billion annually. Stock price, grew more than 10 times in less than 10 years. Microsoft became the world's most valuable company again. More than the money, Nadella brought humanity back to Microsoft. He talked about his personal journey. His son Zane was born with cerebral palsy. He spoke openly about empathy, pain, and seeing the world through others' eyes. He built a company that wasn't just about code, but about people. Part 3. The future in their hands. How Microsoft is quietly building the next world with AI. By the time the world noticed the AI revolution, Microsoft was already ahead of it. Other companies were still talking about what artificial intelligence could do. But Microsoft? They were already doing it. Building, investing, and integrating AI into everything they touched. This wasn't a small shift. This was the beginning of a new era. And Microsoft had prepared for it long before anyone else understood how big it would be. What is AI? And why it matters for Microsoft? AI, or artificial intelligence, is no longer just about robots or science fiction movies. Today's AI means writing human-like text, understanding spoken language, analyzing billions of data points instantly, making decisions, suggestions, and even creating code, helping businesses, students, creators, and doctors in real time. Microsoft saw AI not as a feature, but as a new platform, like Windows was in the 90s, or the Internet was in the 2000s. This time, they wanted to own it from the beginning. Let's go back to 2019. Microsoft made a decision that shocked many people in the tech world, but only later. They partnered with a small but powerful company called OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT. Most people didn't even know what ChatGPT was at the time. But Satya Nadella and his team understood one thing. Whoever controls the most powerful language models will shape the future of how humans and machines interact. So Microsoft invested quietly. First $1 billion in 2019. Then, over time, more than $10 billion by 2023. They didn't just give money. They offered cloud power through Azure. So OpenAI could train its giant models like GPT-3 and GPT-4. In return, Microsoft got exclusive access to embed these models into its own tools. And that's when everything began to change. Microsoft didn't create a separate app to showcase their AI. They integrated it directly into the tools people already use every day. Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, Edge browser, Windows 11, and they called it Copilot. Because this AI isn't your boss. It's not taking over. It's flying with you, like a second brain. Now, with Copilot in Microsoft Word, you can ask it to summarize a long document. Tell it to rewrite your text in a more professional or friendly tone. Ask it to generate an entire report just from a few points. Fix grammar and clarity automatically. Brainstorm headlines, intros, or creative openings. For students, writers, and professionals, this changed everything. It's not just a spell checker anymore. It's a thinking partner. Excel was always powerful, but only for those who understood complicated formulas. Now, with Copilot, you can type, "Show me the sales trends from the last 6 months. Which products are losing money? Forecast profit for next year." And Excel responds instantly with charts, tables, explanations, and insights. Even people who were afraid of Excel can now use it like experts. Email is work, but Copilot makes it faster and smarter. It reads long threads and gives a summary. Writes polite and professional replies in seconds. Can even schedule follow-ups or draft full emails from a short prompt. Instead of spending 2 hours in your inbox, you finish in 20 minutes. Microsoft Teams became even more powerful with AI, live meeting transcripts, instant summary of what was discussed. Action items are listed automatically. Missed a meeting? You can ask, what decisions were made? Who's responsible for the budget? And Copilot answers in seconds. It's like having a personal assistant that never forgets anything. Microsoft owns GitHub, the largest code-sharing platform in the world. They launched GitHub Copilot, an AI assistant for coders. Now developers can write code faster, get real-time suggestions, learn best practices, fix bugs with AI help. This tool is now used by millions of developers globally. Microsoft didn't stop with Office. They started embedding AI into Windows 11, with Copilot integrated across system-level tools. Bing Search, offering conversational search powered by GPT. Edge browser, summarizing websites, generating content. Azure AI services, allowing businesses to build their own AI-powered apps. They built a full-stack AI platform, infrastructure, Azure. Models, OpenAI. Tools, Office, Windows, GitHub. Delivery, cloud plus desktop. They became the only company that controlled all 4 levels. While other companies were arguing about AI's risks, launching separate AI apps, fighting over ethics panels, Microsoft kept one focus: make AI useful, make it invisible, make it powerful for everyone. They didn't talk too much. They didn't hype with loud marketing. They simply put AI into the tools billions of people already use. This quiet power is exactly what makes them dangerous to competitors and essential to the future. Build AI safety teams, created internal responsible AI guidelines, and worked closely with researchers to prevent misuse of large models. Their goal wasn't just speed. It was safe speed, something other companies struggled to balance. Doctors. Summarize medical records instantly. Lawyers. Scan thousands of legal documents in seconds. Students. Learn faster and get answers in real time. Businesses. Reduce cost and increase productivity. Teachers. Create lesson plans in minutes. Writers. Create articles, books, and scripts. Coders. Build apps and websites 3 times faster. They're not replacing people. They're amplifying them. Satya Nadella rewrote the company's mission as to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And now, with AI, they're doing exactly that. They're no longer chasing the world. They're building what the world will use next. Education. Giving every child a window to the world. Before, if you didn't have a teacher, a library, or a proper school, you had no way to learn. Now, Microsoft tools are turning walls into windows and villages into classrooms. Microsoft Teams for Education. Used in over 180 countries, Teams is not just for business. It connects students to teachers, schools to each other, parents to school progress. In countries like India, Ghana, and Brazil, Microsoft helps small schools bring world-class education into classrooms that once had only chalkboards. Children who had never seen a computer now attend live lessons, submit homework, and ask questions, all through Teams. Reading Progress. Microsoft launched Reading Progress inside Teams, a tool where students can read out loud and AI tracks their speed, accuracy, and pronunciation. It helps teachers support students one by one, even in overcrowded classrooms. And the best part? It works even with weak internet, designed for developing countries. This is AI for education at a level that matters. Immersive Reader. A tool inside Word and Teams. It helps dyslexic children, non-native English learners, visually impaired students. It reads text aloud. It highlights words as it reads. It breaks complex language into understandable chunks. Now, a student in rural Kenya learning English for the first time can read confidently without needing a private tutor. Healthcare, saving lives with digital tools. Microsoft is not a hospital, but hospitals around the world run on Microsoft. Let's look at how. AI-assisted radiology. In India, Microsoft worked with local health organizations to build an AI model that detects diseases from X-rays, especially tuberculosis. Many rural areas don't have enough doctors. Now a single chest scan can be uploaded, and AI gives a report within minutes. Doctors use this to detect illness early, saving thousands of lives. Cloud-based hospitals. In the Philippines, small hospitals use Microsoft Azure to manage patient records, medicine supply, staff schedules, health data securely. This cuts down paperwork, increases safety, and makes treatment faster and more reliable. Crisis response. In Ukraine during the war, Microsoft helped protect government data, supported nonprofits, and helped relocate refugee families using digital ID and tracking systems. They didn't just send money. They sent cloud power, security, and infrastructure. Things that let humanitarian work continue, even when cities were collapsing. Agriculture. Helping farmers with AI. In rural Africa, Latin America, and South Asia, farming is still unpredictable. Microsoft created AI sowing app with local governments in India, a tool that gives daily crop advice to farmers based on weather, soil quality, seed type, climate history. A farmer who once guessed the best time to plant seeds now gets a text message with exact instructions and improves his yield by 30 to 50%. Before, only huge companies could afford powerful software. Now with Microsoft's low-cost tools, Even the smallest shop can. Create invoices with Excel. Market their products with PowerPoint or Clipchamp. Host virtual client meetings with Teams. Track sales with Power BI. Accept payments and manage schedules with Bookings. Store and protect data with OneDrive. In Vietnam, a woman who sells handmade bags online uses Word to write product stories, Excel to track costs, PowerPoint to make her catalog, and Teams to talk to buyers in France and Japan. This is not a tech revolution. It's a human revolution, powered by Microsoft. Every day, Microsoft blocks billions of cyber attacks. Their security tools are used by governments, hospitals, banks, airports, even small personal websites. They don't just react to attacks. They predict them. Using AI, Microsoft can detect phishing emails, fake websites, data breaches, malicious code. They even helped vaccine companies protect their research during the pandemic, shielding it from cyber spies. Microsoft builds tools for everyone, including those with visual disabilities, hearing loss, mobility challenges, cognitive impairments. Some of their innovations. Eye control lets users type using only their eyes. Dictate, speak instead of typing. Live captions for hearing impaired in Teams. High contrast mode for vision support. Seeing AI describes surroundings to blind users using a phone camera. These aren't side projects. They're built into every Microsoft product, making technology truly equal. Creativity, empowering artists, designers, storytellers with Microsoft's tools. Writers create books using Word plus Copilot. Video editors use Clipchamp to edit short films. Architects use PowerPoint to visualize building plans. Designers create social posts with Designer AI. Musicians use OneDrive to store and share audio files. YouTubers use Azure AI tools to transcribe videos, add subtitles, and even translate voice. One storyteller in Nigeria used PowerPoint and AI voice tools to create an animated children's book. Now downloaded over 200,000 times. That's what empowerment looks like. FedEx uses Azure to track every package and optimize delivery. Emirates Airlines uses Microsoft for crew scheduling and maintenance. The United Nations runs disaster relief dashboards with Power BI. NASA uses Microsoft Cloud tools for space research. Governments use Teams to run remote parliaments and councils. This isn't a software company anymore. Microsoft is the backbone of modern civilization. Everything we've covered so far, from software to cloud, from Word to AI, from the dorm room to the edge of space, has one thing in common. Microsoft made it simple, powerful, and available to all. They don't always make headlines. They're not always flashy. But in the background, they're building the world. Part 4. The Final Ascent, the Numbers, the Lessons, and the Legacy of Microsoft. Microsoft today is not just surviving. It is dominating. Not through noise, not through drama, but through intelligence, consistency, empathy, and vision. Let's look at the numbers first, then the legacy, then the lessons. Microsoft, by the numbers, 2025. These are real-time facts about Microsoft's current size, power, and scale. Market capitalization. Microsoft's market cap is now more than $3.8 trillion. It is the most valuable company on Earth, sometimes switching positions with Apple and NVIDIA. Annual revenue. Total revenue, 2024 to 2025. Over $250 billion per year. That's more than the GDP of many countries combined. Core businesses, division revenue, Microsoft Azure Cloud. over $75 billion per year. Microsoft Office 365, around $50 billion per year. LinkedIn, over $15 billion per year. Windows, over $20 billion per year. Xbox plus Gaming plus Game Pass, over $18 billion per year. Search plus advertising, Bing, Edge, etc., around $15 billion per year. GitHub, Copilot, and developer tools. Growing rapidly, future focus of AI revenue. AI integration plus licensing, OpenAI GPT access. Becoming a multi-billion-dollar stream by 2025. Employees. Over 225,000 employees in more than 190 countries. Offices on every continent, from Tokyo to Nairobi, London to São Paulo. Infrastructure. Over 60 data regions across the world, hosting AI, cloud, gaming, government, and military systems. Global reach. Microsoft products are used by over 1.5 billion people. Over 400 million Windows 11 users. Office 365 is used in more than 90% of Fortune 500 companies. AI leadership. Microsoft has invested over $13 billion in OpenAI. Integrated GPT-4, Copilot, and AI APIs into its full ecosystem, leading the enterprise AI market globally. Now let's talk about something even bigger than numbers. This is not a story about software anymore. This is a story about human potential. Microsoft didn't just sell tools, it helped build dreams. From students in Africa writing essays with Word, to researchers in Europe running simulations on Azure, to doctors in India scanning X-rays with AI, to grandmothers in America using Skype to call their grandchildren, to developers in Indonesia building apps on GitHub. Microsoft gave people power, and it did it quietly, without showing off, without chasing attention. Just like a good operating system, it worked in the background and let others shine in the front. Let's remember where it all started. A 13-year-old boy in Seattle, reading books, skipping gym class to use the school computer. That boy's name was Bill Gates. He teamed up with his friend, Paul Allen, and together they created a language for a machine no one believed in. From that tiny contract, to building Microsoft in a small office with no furniture, to creating Windows, Office, and Word, they didn't just write code. They rewrote how we live. But the journey wasn't perfect. Microsoft was sued. Microsoft was hated. Microsoft made terrible products. Microsoft almost missed the mobile revolution. Microsoft almost became irrelevant. But then came another quiet man. Not loud, not flashy, not famous. Satya Nadella, an engineer from India who brought back humility, empathy, and bold thinking. He didn't rebuild Microsoft's image with marketing. He rebuilt it from the inside, with culture, cloud, and care. And under him, Microsoft did something very few companies ever do. It came back stronger and wiser. Now here is the most important part of this story. The lessons for your future. 1. Start small, but think big. Microsoft began with one contract, one machine, and a few lines of code. You don't need to start big, but you must think big and think with clarity. 2. Build useful things. Microsoft didn't chase trends. It built what people actually needed. Word to write, Excel to calculate, Windows to connect, Teams to communicate, Azure to grow. Ask yourself, what does the world need that I can build? 3. Be ruthless with vision, but kind with people. Microsoft was often aggressive with competition. But Satya Nadella brought compassion, humility, and teamwork. He proved that you don't have to be rude to be successful. You can be strong and still kind. 4. Fail, learn, repeat. Microsoft made huge mistakes. Zune, Vista, Windows 8, Nokia, Internet Explorer, Bing, early years. But they kept learning, kept listening, kept rebuilding. You are not defined by your mistakes. You're defined by your response to them. 5. Evolve or die. Microsoft could have died when the world moved to smartphones, cloud, AI, remote work, cross-platform tools. But it evolved, and now it leads. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. 6. Let others win with you. Microsoft is powerful today, not because it wins alone, but because it builds platforms where others can win too. Developers on GitHub, startups on Azure, students using Copilot, teachers using Teams, gamers using Game Pass. Don't build a throne, build a stadium. Let others rise because of your work. Microsoft is not just a company, it's a reminder that the biggest companies in the world are often built in quiet rooms by normal people who just refuse to give up. So if you're watching this video and you have a dream, an idea, or even just a feeling that you're meant to do something more, don't ignore it. Build it. Start with what you have. Work with what you know. And believe, even when no one else does. Microsoft's story doesn't end here, because it's still writing it. With every line of code, every AI model, every lesson, every teacher, and every dreamer it empowers. But your story? That's just beginning. Thank you for watching the full story of Microsoft, from a dorm room to a $3.8 trillion empire.